Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic: people sentenced in the 80s to 2000s. What modern world change shocked you the most? I remember getting the bus years ago and this old bloke got on heading away from town centre towards the more residential areas. Without a second thought he sparked up a cigar. One of the passengers told him you can't smoke on a bus. He apologized and quickly stubbed it out but said he got discharged from prison that day, and when he went in you could smoke anywhere you wanted, so this was a massive culture shock to him. You have been sentenced to 10 years for smoking on the bus. Oh fuck. Ah shit, here I go again. Anthony Ray Hinton described people walking around looking at down these things in their hands, phones, and amazingly not bumping into each other. Ow, on the day you were released, your best friend, Lester, who had visited you every single week for nearly 30 years, picked you up. You'd been behind bars since 1985. So you got in his car, and what was the first thing you wanted to do? Right hand, Lester thought I'd want to get something decent to eat. But I wanted to go where they laid my mother's body. I see him messing with the radio dial, then we start driving down the road. I heard this little white lady say, in 1/10 of a mile, turn right. I jumped and said, what the hell? Ow, you thought there was a white lady in the car? Right hand, yes, and Lester's laughing so hard he has to pull over. He says, that's a GPS. When he explained what it does, it really hit me how long I'd been locked up. The world had changed. Imagine if he had set the voice to a celebrity's. I still have Snoop Dogg's Turn Left Nephew stuck in my head from my girlfriend's Tom 10 years ago. I would pay greatly for my GPS to say turn left motherfucker in Samuel L. Jackson's voice. Got a call from a woman filing a claim on some abandoned funds. I got all her information and then asked for an email address and she said what's email? I keep hearing about it, but you gotta understand I've been in prison a long time. I'm honestly surprised there aren't mandatory classes in prison that help keep people up to date on current events and technologies. It would go a long way to help ex-cons function normally in society once they get out, and isn't that the whole goal of the prison system? Do you think they'd cover modern memes in juvie? Private prisons want you back. That's part of how they profit. Prisoner transfer I did one time for this man who was sentenced to life in 1968, and it's the first time he'd driven past the CN Tower in Toronto and he couldn't believe how tall it was. That and he was blown away by how many different car brands there were. Fuck, 1968 is a long time. Especially in Canada. My dad was sentenced 8 years for manslaughter. He got off easy. Do you know what he was sentenced for? Also, I wouldn't be able to handle a life sentence then see all the progress made without me while being transferred. It would mess with me too much. He was sentenced for sedition, treason and I think espionage dating back to the Cold War. Not sure what he did exactly per selenium, but he's never gonna walk for it. My cousin's husband, that she married while he was serving 10 years beginning around 2008, wanted the first thing he did as a free man was to go to Hollywood Video and rent movies to watch with her. Then she blew his mind with Netflix. At least the idea of Netflix and chill wasn't far from his original plan, but he was shocked about there not being video stores anymore. I'm guessing his mind isn't the only thing she blew that night. That's my Cassia talk, just kidding, can confirm, neither of them have a filter or shame. Without sounding disrespectful, what made her marry someone while they were serving time? Did she already know him? I'd imagine that would be a very difficult decision to commit yourself to someone you know you can't properly be with for 10 years. You don't have to answer if this question is too personal. They dated before he got busted. She's somehow responsible for getting busted. My friend's older brother was jailed in 1994 and served 15 years. He said when he went in, anyone with an in-car phone was super rich, and to then see absolutely everyone have a completely cordless, pocket-sized phone was amazing. He also said that all the TV adverts had websites to visit, or were for completely online stores, which were a bit of an alien concept, as he'd never really seen or used the internet. He also found the chip and pin process of paying for things on a bank card extremely exciting. Edit, I'm unfortunately not in touch with the friend anymore after an incident with the haddock and the umbrella, so I can't get any further answers to your questions about his brother. Last I heard was around 2012, and he seemed to be doing okay, and had a job and a place to live. If he's impressed by chips and pins, wait until tap comes your way. No PIN, just the card held to debit machine until you hear a beep. Is this new in the USA? Contactless payment has been a thing for years in Europe. No matter what year you go in, when you come out and stand on carpet for the first time is the most disturbing feeling. Oh whoa. I felt this one. And darkness. Being able to be in 100% darkness, again, freaked me TF out for a while. Darkness, complete silence, showering without sandals, couches / chairs with cushions, and a bed that's actually long enough for me. Those were such odd yet amazing things / feelings to experience again. Knew a guy who was blown away by digital cameras. He had purchased an old, terrible one and couldn't get over how amazing it was. Cameras truly have come a long way, and here people on Instagram trying to find ~15 ~30 years old cameras for aesthetic. r/r log. It isn't just Instagram. Not throwing shade either, I love that aesthetic. I was talking to a lady who runs the education for a federal prison in Florida. She said when they start getting rambunctious or off topic, she mentions a new feature of the newest iPhone and all of a sudden they are very interested in what she has to say again. That's pretty clever. News from the outside world. I hired a guy that was released after 17 years, circa 2005. A week after he started working, he bought a phone. He had a childlike wonder with push-to-talk and texting. A week later he was pissed off that he couldn't text his order into Hungry Howie's. TBH, valid thing to be pissed off about. Wait, this guy is right, why can't we text orders? Because here's what would happen. Customer, 2 med pepper and 16 wings thanks. Pizza place, thank you for your order. Our pizzas come in small, 12, and large, 15, which size did you want? Did you mean our spicy pepper delight deal or the pepperoni? Can I also please take your delivery address? Customer, NA Coke. A friend said his dad's friend tried VR after about 30 years in prison for like second-degree murder or something, and he got scared, fell over and broke the headset. Being a part of society my whole life, it was still a pretty big mindfuck when I first tried VR. Can only imagine what it'd be like to be locked up for 30 years to just jump into VR. A co-worker a few years ago had spent 10 years in jail. He got out right when Bluetooth headsets for phones were huge. He'd talk about all the random conversations he thought people were trying to have with him, and smartphones freaked him the hell out. Well, tell him it's okay. I was confused a few times by those two. Once I thought a woman had a mental problem because she was talking to herself. Then she turned and I saw the earpiece. Bluetooth headsets are a godsend to schizophrenics everywhere. Not me personally, but we had an older guy rent out a room in our house a few years back. Usually we rented it out to students, but someone let us know that he had just moved to our city and needed something temporary until he found permanent accommodation. It was a bit frustrating because this guy would not use the internet to search for a car or place to live. Didn't know how it worked and didn't trust it. We tried to help him learn how because we thought he was just old and stubbornly resisted technology, but nope. Turns out that he had spent 11.5 years in maximum security prison after being framed by WA police for murder in the mid-80s. Came out with trust issues and a dislike for the new internet. Edit, Western Australian, not Washington police. And here's his Wikipedia page for those interested in his case. Was it this guy? Yes. I just found out that he was killed in a car accident recently. Poor guy got a dealt a rough hand. Obligatory not me, but in the early 2000s I worked with a guy that was sentenced in the mid-80s and had just come out. He told me the first time he went to a men's room he spent several minutes looking for the handle to flush. Motion sensor toilets was completely alien to him. Motion sensor toilets is still completely alien to me. I thought you meant he didn't know what to do with the button flush, or the 3 seashells. Oh yeah, for sure those can be a pain in the ass if no one has shown you how to use the 3 seashells. I was pretty surprised at the rise of e-commerce. I never thought it would be more convenient than a brick-and-mortar store. I was sentenced to some community service in 1997 for a traffic violation. The world up and got itself in a big damn hurry. It's hard work and I try to keep up, but my hands hurt most of the time. There was that documentary of someone who was sentenced in the Soviets, Otis I think, and he just couldn't believe the stuff he was seeing. Since he lived in New York, with all the screens, it was just a different city then, all the different colored drinks and people wearing earphones like they were in the Secret Service. It's an interesting thing to watch. Dear fellas. I can't believe how fast things move on the outside. I saw an automobile once when I was a kid, but now they're everywhere. The world went and got itself in a big damn hurry. The parole board got me into this halfway house called the Brewer, and a job bagging groceries at the Foodway. It's hard work. I try to keep up, but my hands hurt most of the time. I don't think the store manager likes me very much. Sometimes after work I go to the park and feed the birds. I keep thinking Jake might just show up and say hello. But he never does. I hope wherever he is, he's doing okay and making new friends. Brooks was here.